All right, so we're here with Ismael, and today we're going to be doing a bass rig rundown. So obviously, this is a worship-based rig, but I'm sure you can use it for many other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, bro, why don't you walk us through your pedals?
Yeah. So we're going into the Turbo Tuner. Super awesome tuner. I think it's honestly the most accurate tuner, to be honest. Then we go into a Union Tube. That's a compressor. We go into, I call it the Little Red. It's a overdrive / fuzz pedal. Does cool stuff. It's just an extra little gain stage. Into the micro synth, that thing is a beast. That we'll hear in a little bit. Into the Julia, just coarse, just adds extra texture if needed. Into the tone hammer, that's where a lot of the tones coming from is going to be that tone hammer. Into a Neve DI, which is a DI box, and that thing's honestly super cool.
All right, bro. So tell us about your bass.
Yeah, so this is a 2021 custom shop Fender US model. I had this made by them, and I changed the pickups to Lawler pickups.
Okay.
Lawler pickups is kind of what everybody switches to, and I kind of jumped on them as well. They bring out a mid-range and other frequencies out of the bass that are just super cool for worship. So yeah, that's what the bass is.
All right, cool. So we'll kind of start with the like you said, the main effect that's giving you most of your tone, which is the tone hammer. So that's the preamp in this chain. So we'll start with that. We'll just engage it with no AGS on. But first, let's do a demo without.
Yeah, for sure. So this is just Neve DI basically, and bass.
Cool. Here it is engaged. Cool. And then here is AGS, which, if y'all don't know, AGS is essentially harmonics, right? It's adding a little bit more up in the spectrum in harmonics, and so you'll hear it as soon as it turns on. So. Cool. Yeah. So definitely that was the big jump right there.
Yeah, and some people might think that's super gnarly, especially like it by itself, like a bass soloed out. Mm-hmm. A lot of people might be like, "Whoa, that's really overdriven, really wild." But it works. Right. It sits in the mix, and I think you can understand the notes that a bass player is playing when they have a little bit of overdriven. Especially sitting with the kick and sitting with everything. I think it just cuts through nicely.
Yeah, for sure. When a sound guy tells you, "Whoa, that's a lot," what do you tell him? Just wait. There's more.
Just wait. There's more.
There's definitely more.
There's more than that. I think I've gotten that a lot, and I think having a good relationship with your sound guy is great. So I usually tell them like, "Hey, give it a try, like with everybody together with the mix, and then if we need to dial it back, like I'm more than happy to dial it back." Yeah. And usually by the end of it, they're like, "Oh, okay,
I get it.
I love it. Yeah, I get it." So
Sure. Cool. So that's the tone hammer. We noticed that it's a big jump there from without it to with the AGS on. For sure. So we'll jump to the next thing, which you mentioned to me. These are the two pedals you keep on 100% of the time.
100% of the time.
Yeah, so it'll be the tone hammer, and the other one is the Union compressor. So let's jump to that one.
Yeah.
This is without it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I think like we were talking about earlier was the compressor kind of adds a little bit to make it uniform.
Yeah.
So it like kind of just kind of starts bringing everything kind of together.
Right.
But yeah, those two are always on. People might be like, "What, compressor with bass?" But it works. It works, and and I love it.
Especially when right nowadays the trend is compression. Any record you listen to, any modern record, and you're like, well, they all sound a certain way. Well, what is that characteristic? It's really compression that we're hearing, right? You hear a record on the radio and it has that sound. It sounds like it's right here, and that's what the compression gives you. And when we talk about uniformity, like when you really think about it, bass is your foundational instrument.
It is, yeah.
Well, what happens when your foundation's not uniform? I think they'll topple over, leaning tower of Pisa, right? So we run into a lot of problems when. Now there is a way to mitigate that, right? But for your front of house guy, for your broadcast guy, there's no better thing than have it right at the source.
Mm-hmm.
You have it sitting in a pocket. That's this, and so they don't have to be right in your fader 24/7.
Right,
or
yeah.
not only that, giving you a tone that you don't also agree with. Like he said, working with your front of house guy, working with your sound crew is very important. If you there needs to be communication there, because if not, speaking as a sound guy, if you don't tell me this is what I like to sound like, I'm gonna make it sound like whatever I like. You know what I mean? Yeah. I could care less about what you want to sound like. But when you have that communication, it could be, let's meet in the middle. Maybe he's like, well, I love when my micro synth is at 100% and everything's going, and me at front of house, I'm like, well, that's great, but this doesn't work for the system we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's meet in the middle, right?
Yeah.
That's a very important thing. So
yeah, and I think you hit it right on the mark. I'm like I said, I'm a huge I love working with the sound guys. Like whoever I'm working with, I will always ask what they need from me. I mean, we're all serving, right? So but if you have a good source, a good, coming in already with things dialed in, it helps the sound guy. Then y'all can communicate, maybe make little minimal changes. And it's great to have that communication. So
yeah, it makes our jobs way easier.
Yeah.
So to any engineers watching this, get it right at the source. I've mentioned this in every video. Even the minor things. Maybe it's a mid-range cut or a low mid cut. And you're like, hey, I could do it on my console, but hey, I'm gonna ask him, hey, have you ever thought about maybe making this mid-range cut? We listen to it, and he's like, you know what? You're right. Let me just make this cut on my pedal board. And now he takes that with him everywhere he goes, and he's happy with his sound. So. That's just an example of that. So, So these two pedals, the Aguilar and the Union, stay on the entire time.
Yep.
So those are your foundational stuff. Let's go over to your effects now. So you mentioned you have the micro synth, the little red, and the chorus. So let's listen to the chorus. I think it'll be the next clip.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I guess let's just listen to it and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So this is I'm gonna change up a little bit of what I'm doing, because with the chorus it's just more like texture stuff. When I would probably use the chorus would be more low moments. Yeah. We do a lot of spontaneous things, so kind of off script, not playing a song. So that's when I would turn that on. I definitely wouldn't probably use it when everybody's going,
right.
Big thing. So, but yeah, this is kind of what it'll sound like. Oh, let's do it with it off, so it can kind of. And then just kind of on. So yeah, does what a chorus does, man. Just adds a little bit of extra things on there.
Yeah, and then I guess we can talk about a use case, right? In our scenario, church world, we've all ran into the pastor wants the band to be behind them. You don't want AGS, Union, distortion right in your face, right? So like he said, the style of playing changes also. You go from where you might be playing a lot of lower notes to just moving it up the fretboard and adding the chorus, and that gives you that it gives you the ability to tie in with the swells that the electric guitar might be doing,
for sure,
the notes that the keyboard might be playing, and you don't stick out like a sore thumb to the rest of the congregation. So that's a perfect pedal for that. It helps you blend in those low moments.
Yeah, so super cool.
So now we'll go into distortion, overdrive, fuzz world.
About
these next two.
We'll start with the little red. Basically, like I said, that's just an overdriven. It's just gonna give me like an extra little bite, where I wouldn't probably want to use a micro synth, which we'll showcase here in a second. I definitely would say I use that pedal probably if I'm playing at a church that maybe doesn't know this world,
Mm-hmm.
that's maybe like barely getting introduced to this world. Sorry, dude. I just noticed my phone's going off. Yeah, but you can just put it on the ground. She knows where I'm at.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that wasn't going to come through the...
No, you're good.
You can just put it over there. We're good.
Okay. So we'll just start at the top of the
Okay.
lower.
So yeah, the next pedal we'll go to is the Little Red. I would say I use that pedal as an extra bite. Like, you know, give it an extra bite. I would also say I would use it if I'm not going to use the micro synth, which we'll showcase in a minute, and we'll hear why.
Mm-hmm.
But I use that pedal that maybe if I'm playing at a church that isn't really used to having all this, but I want to cut through the mix a little bit more in a bigger moment. I would use this pedal just to give it a slight more edge. Without using a micro synth. But that's when I would mostly use that. And maybe for other occasions, just kind of wanting to cut through a little bit more.
Special use cases.
Yeah, special use cases.
All right, let's hear it. So
Yeah.
this is without it.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see what you mean by that. It's definitely, it fuzzes it up and it makes it come out
Yeah.
towards you.
Which, like I said, soloed out, people are probably like, whoa,
Yeah.
you know, but in a mix, it works.
Yeah,
And it cuts through and
sure.
it blends together very well.
Okay. So we'll go into the next one, which if you had to say is probably Little Brother, Big Brother, right? If we're looking at it
Yeah,
this way.
little brother, big brother for sure. So that's the little brother, and then the big brother would be the micro synth. How about we showcase it and then we'll talk about it after?
Yeah, let's just listen
all
to
right,
it.
sweet. So with it off. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you said, if you're coming into an environment where nobody's ever heard a distorted, isolated bass like that, you'll definitely be like, "What's going on? What's gonna explode?
What is this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my speaker's gonna fall off of the ceiling." But no, definitely is that big step up. Now, use case. When are you using the micro synth?
So I'm using microsynth like, let's say a huge last course,
Okay.
or like a very big moment, maybe after a bridge, after
Okay.
you're building a bridge. I would say that's when it's great to use it.
So that's
a
your
big
final
moment.
big-
Stage, final that's in the song with a big, chorus.
Cool.
And yeah, that's when I'm using that. Or in a lot of occasions, I'm using it when we have one guitar player. So if there's one guitar player, you want to see how your band can fill in, right? Like if you're playing, especially if you're playing a song where there's a lot of guitar players or a lot of guitars, maybe backtracks, 2 guitar players, you only have one. You want to make sure you can add some space. So that's when I'm using that as well.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's go over a little bit of the settings on there. So what's with the tape? I see the tape, and I'm assuming it's so it doesn't slide up.
Yeah, so the tape is there, nothing more than just if I get too excited and I turn it on and I'm like, kick them. Those are the knobs I don't really want in use. Right. So I just kind of put the tape there. But yeah, you have a sub octave, which is just your low octave on there. How much of that you want? Guitar, how much of the bass you want to come through with that pedal.
I see. So that's almost your blend.
Yeah, your blend.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect way to. Yeah, your blend. The octave, I have that pretty low. Just because if I have it turned up all the way, you start kind of losing the sub octave, and you're playing bass, so you don't really want to lose that low end.
Before we move past that, can you show us an example of the sub octave? What you were saying, if you play too low, what happens?
Yeah, for sure.
You have to kind of change the way you're playing.
You do, yeah. So you have to change the way you're playing, which I did. If you saw, I had to change what notes I was playing. So I'll turn it on and play kind of what I was playing. So yeah, here we go. So that's, I went from a 1, 4/5, a higher register. This is how it would sound like if I, went lower register. So it just sounds, what this pedal is doing is it's adding an octave below the note you're playing. So if you're playing a G, the note lower than a G is whatever it is, just something that doesn't sound great,
right?
So it's a lower octave, so it just sounds sounds kind of bad in there.
Yeah,
so,
and most systems won't be able to reproduce something that low,
right?
So that's kind of the thought behind. And then even just in translation, when you played that, when you went up to the higher register, my phone ran out of storage.